Do you wave your terrible towel when Renegade plays? Reach for a tasty cake when JJ shouts, "He scores!" Does the sound of an F1 engine make your heart race? Doing push-ups with the Nittany Lion after a TD? Then lend us an ear, and we will share the exhilaration of Steelers football, the excitement of Flyers hockey, the nail-biting finishes of F1, and the pride when we yell, "We are Penn State." Welcome to the SteelFlyers Show, the strangest combination of sports fandom since pineapple was put on pizza. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SteelFlyers All Sports Network, and we are proud to present the Eliminator series. And last night, Carolina Hurricanes were eliminated from the NHL playoffs, the number one seed in the Central. We are joined, that's right, joined by the great, the mighty Pearlo Wisdom. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Mighty now. I haven't really had Mighty too often.
Yeah, you know.
It's
every
been a while since
every
the words Mighty and me came
Hey
together.
man,
I think it was
everyone's
like Mighty Disappointment might have been one.
yeah, that's a good one right there for sure.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah,
No, it's
thanks,
all right.
buddy. Yeah, this is
Yeah, man.
awesome.
Yeah, man. We're gonna dive into the fact that unfortunately the Carolina Hurricanes lost
Yeah,
quite handily to
yeah.
Tampa Bay Lightning. They
Mm-hmm.
just ran into that juggernaut. And they were
Mm-hmm.
eliminated from the playoffs for this year now. Tampa Bay is going to sit back now and wait for the winner of the, is it the Boston and New York?
Yeah,
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 okay. And so that's, I'll tell you what, man. We talked about this like when we covered the Toronto, Montreal about what it means to be a warrior. And,
yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
Carolina has that mentality. They have that mentality. The only problem I think is that they were missing quite a few of their key players at key stretches throughout this playoffs. Not with just this series, but the series before even. You know what I mean? And the fact that they were kind of, I mean, Nedeljkovic played well, but not well enough. Mrazek came in and played well for one game, and then that was it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I don't
Yeah.
know, man. What do you think?
Well, Nedeljkovic gets the experience. We were when we were talking in the regular season, before the regular season, we were talking about. I was hoping that they would go out and get a veteran, but I get it. It's not about this year. They're looking long term. Nedeljkovic is their goaltender of the future, and the only way to get experience is give experience. So that's just the way it is. Yeah, I mean, it's not Nedeljkovic played well, especially for his age and who he is, a rookie and all that stuff like that. But you're talking about Vasilevsky here, and when we're talking about winning cups, I had him go into the Carolina go into the finals, but looking
Me
back on
too.
it, it's pure heart. Like that, I
Yep.
just want this team to win.
Yep. Hey, man, I was in the same boat.
It was a heart play. That's it. And like I said, I wasn't a fan of the Tampa Bay Lightning this year, but they did it. They did it. However, they did it.
They,
And they brought everybody back at the right time. They got everybody. They took it easy in the regular season. They really did. I watched a lot of the games. They were
like,
outplayed way too
towards,
often. They
towards like
relied on Vasilevsky too
the
much.
last half of the season, they were not quite playing up to their usual par self there. But,
No, not at all.
yeah. When
Hmm.
John and I do John from Off the Wall Hockey and I do a show called Off the Wall Hockey. Go figure. And on
Coincidentally.
Fridays at between 8 and 10 live every Friday.
Uh-huh.
And we have one of our segments in the show. There is uh, the power uh, levels of each team, right?
Hmm.
So what level is each team at? You know what I mean? And when you start seeing Tampa Bay dropping off that list, we were picking the top five, right? This was called the top shelf power teams in the league, right?
Right.
So when you see Tampa Bay on there for the first half of the season, and then after that you start seeing them drop down the list, and then you start seeing them not being on the list, and then it was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I see what you mean though with Tampa Bay, like not playing quite as well towards the end of the season. I mean, they were leading up until that point, and then they just, I mean, they were what, the fourth seed?
Yeah. Even when they were winning lots, but especially in the second half, the ones that they were winning, a lot of the time they were relying so much on Vasilevsky. It was crazy. But anyways, it made sense in a lot of ways. The whole narrative this year was completely different, where you have this compact, and they played later than anybody except for Dallas last year. So winning the cup and then having the party and all of this stuff like that. Maybe it obviously was a smart move to take it easy on some of these players and just I don't know what was going on in that room. I know one thing though is Cooper is an absolutely brilliant coach and doesn't get enough credit because he's got such a great team. He's a fantastic coach, and I don't know how he did it, what he did, but somehow he was able to find that balance. Because there was a lot of times on the bench, Cooper to me looked like he was very frustrated with his team. So it's almost like Cooper wasn't the one doing this. It was
Right.
almost like the players were kind of instinctively saying, "I know what I need to say for the playoffs, so I'm going to do this." Maybe I don't know what the whole dynamics about it was. But when I watched Tampa play, I was like, this team's not going to be able to do anything in the playoffs. But turn it on. Remember, we were talking about that? I was like, are they really going to be able to just turn it on? Well, they answered it. Yep, they
Not
did.
only did they turn it on for the first series,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a hard fought series against Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That really was because Florida played them really, really tough. That was a physical series, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, and then the same thing that was going on with Carolina happened in Nashville. Carolina Nashville series was a tough series, especially
Yeah.
for Carolina. I mean, to lose Niederreiter and Trocheck for stretches of time in this second round, especially against Tampa Bay, I think really hurt them. And then also losing the first two games was
Mm.
not really the best way to start a series, really.
Yeah. One of which they really did outplay Tampa Bay too. That was the thing. And then Tampa Bay, I saw the stats on it. Carolina's Corsi numbers were better. They were getting the possession play. But Tampa Bay was getting the high quality shots, and they were getting into those. And we were talking about this being the warrior mentality, and you said Carolina has it. I think Carolina is learning it, and they're wanting to have it, and they're growing into it. But I don't think they're there yet. It
Okay.
takes time. And we just did one on Toronto where Marner and stuff like that. Dude, Marner's only 20 some years old.
Yeah,
Learning to be a
Carolina
warrior
is very young.
learning to be a warrior is not something that just happens overnight. You cannot duplicate what it is to be in the NHL playoffs anywhere in your career. It's not the same in junior. It doesn't matter AHL. Wherever you go, it's this is on levels that are it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, intense, and putting everything aside to putting every shift, every move, everything you do is to win at that moment at the highest intensity possible that you can possibly do.
Yeah.
There's nowhere that you ever do that in your career, and it's something that is learned.
Yeah,
Some people
that's
have it naturally,
I was
but
just going to say, that's something else too that there's a lot of people out there that kind of have it naturally, that have that warrior mentality naturally. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And it shows in their play. Like I always use the example of they used to call him that I mean, he doesn't like this nickname, so I won't really call it, but it was a cartoon that used to happen on Looney Tunes, but uh, Troy Polamalu. I
okay,
mean,
got it.
the I mean that guy to me is just a warrior mentality all the way through. Like he to
Hmm.
me wasn't a safety; he was a football player.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm
right.
saying? Like some of these hockey players, you look at them and go, "Yeah, I don't see him as a defenseman or a center. I see him as a hockey player."
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I'm
I see.
saying? But it still transcends. You can still have that warrior mentality no matter what sport you're in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. In every sport, you have to have that, no doubt about it. Um, but it's not just that too, because it's having that intensity, but also having a leveled heart rate while you do it,
Yeah, because you got to have the
because you
skill to
can't
back it up.
tire yourself out at the same time. So you have to have this steely. It's a balance that is really difficult to have. You're keeping your heart rate down, you're completely
Yeah,
confident in your abilities, but you're playing, and natural guys at it, Stone in Vegas, the Felinos, like I've mentioned a million times,
yeah, yeah,
Perry.
yeah,
Perry
yeah,
learnt it. Perry's early career, he burnt himself out.
yeah.
He had to learn
Well,
this,
you know, it's something that
staying
you
on
said.
one
It's
level.
something that you said takes, look, you can teach a guy how to be a faster hockey player. You can teach a guy to be a better hockey player positionally by putting him in those best positions. But
Yeah.
you gotta at some point you gotta have some talent.
Oh yeah,
You
gotta
know what
have
I
talent.
mean?
Yeah,
At,
of
at
course.
some point you gotta be able to reach down and pull out. Hey, look, I got a little talent here.
Yeah. Yeah. But you got to have a leader, I find, anyways. It seems that there has to be leaders in that to show people what it looks like.
Yeah.
And remember when Montreal did that, they put Stahl and those guys in there,
In that
and they
first
didn't put
game.
the kids in, and everybody's
Yeah.
like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
And I
And
said, "Well,
I
I think
thought
what
you were crazy, dude. I thought you were like, what are you?
I
Prove me
thought,
wrong. Hey, prove me wrong.
yeah, because I thought this is what he's doing. He's showing these kids what that looks like. This is what we're trying to do here. So this is what we're doing. I think Carolina had that with Williams, and they really need another guy like that. So I,
Yeah.
I think they should go out with they should go. They got a coach that did it. That's the thing. But you could only. It's much easier to coach when you have an emblem to say that guy.
Yeah, yeah. Be
What
like
I'm
that guy.
saying
Yeah.
is that guy right there. Right
Yeah.
now, I don't think they have it in their life. Slavin is really close.
Right. I don't
They
think
have
Dougie
some guys
Hamilton
that
is that guy. I don't think he is that guy. I mean,
no, Ducky Hamilton is not that guy.
yeah.
No,
But I agree with you. I think Slavin is like just a hair to starboard, on
yeah, it's
that.
better to have a guy that's been there,
But
done
he
that, won
was
a cup.
also missing for good portions of
Yeah, he was injured.
the first two series as well
Yeah,
too. So
hmm
that really hurt Carolina,
big
where
time.
everything was basically on Nedeljkovic.
Yeah,
Okay, and
too much on the Djokovic. Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so when you suddenly have to put everything on such a young goaltender, like
hmm
I think that's what the Flyers tried to do a little bit. They tried to just go, okay, all right, we got this great goaltender. All right, be the savior, cool, and
Yeah,
and and it was too much. I
yeah,
mean, there's no shame in that, but you're right. He got some really good, valuable experience,
yeah. hmm
and when we talk about goaltenders of the future, you have to look at this guy as being one of those potential guys that
Oh, for sure.
could be, one of those Vezina Trophy winning guys in the future.
Yeah, he's one of those cool ones too because he's the guy that fought to get there. He didn't
Yeah,
have all the natural talent of a
yeah,
Patrick Law or
and he's a little bit
Price or
older,
something like that.
yeah.
He had to fight hard to learn the game in the NHL. So I think he's going to be great down the
Exactly.
road. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So, anyways,
I agree.
that's it's going to be. I think it's going to be interesting to see who they add in the offseason. I think there will be
Well,
some adding in the
well,
offseason
you
here.
already mentioned it. You
Mm,
think that they need to get that leader, that
natural.
that natural leader guy that can come in and be the one that shows them how to get to the promised land. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Now,
Yeah.
the issue is going to be, is that player going to be available to them?
Well, I mentioned one. He's going to be available, Foligno,
Right.
but I don't know if they can get him. He can go wherever he wants. So I think
Right.
he's going to go back with
There's
his
going to
brother.
potentially be, yeah, there's going to potentially be some guys from Tampa Bay that are going to be available. There's going to be potentially some guys from Vegas,
Coleman, Goudreau,
that'll be
those
available.
kind of
Potentially
guys.
some other teams that are going to have some guys that will be available that they might be
Yeah.
able to pluck. or whatever you want
Yeah,
to call it. But
but you're right. I agree with you. There is a lot of players in there that are growing with that mentality. You can tell. Nietzsche, Aho. It doesn't necessarily mean you're the toughest guy or anything like that.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't
yeah, yeah.
necessarily
No, no,
mean
no,
that.
no.
It just means that
You don't give
they're
up.
able to live in that intensity for long periods of time and know that that's the where you're getting to get to through the regular season. That's what we're growing to become is
You get that.
that.
Yeah, you get that whole Captain America. Man, I can do this all day.
Yeah,
Right?
that's what I was so surprised. And as much as I said I didn't like the Lightning this year, I have to give them complete kudos now because to just turn it on like that to me is just unfathomable.
Not
And I don't
only
know if it's still going to be able to go through the whole playoffs, but it's unfathomable to me. But
not
Stamkos is a good example.
not only
Stamkos.
did they just turn it on,
Hmm.
okay, but Kucherov came out in the first game of the first series and
Yeah,
scored 2 goals and
yeah,
was very relevant in the Florida series right from jump.
yeah,
Okay, and so was Stamkos
mm,
right along with him. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So that to me, I think, was the huge issue that, I was like, yeah, I don't really. I had doubts about Tampa Bay going in because I felt that with Kucherov missing the whole year and with Stamkos coming in that they were going to be rusty and Florida was playing really really well. They were the number one, or the number 2 seed. They were a higher seed than Florida or than Tampa Bay, and I thought Florida with the goaltending was coming alive a little bit there in Florida. They were playing really well, and Tampa Bay really played them hard, and that was a tough series against them. Okay, and
yeah,
they came out and played and just took those first 2 games from Carolina.
yeah. The other
In
thing,
Carolina,
yeah, the other,
they just walked into their building and said, "Yeah, I'll take those first 2, thanks."
yeah, the other thing was that they were Carolina's biggest strength is their puck moving from their defense, right? That's the and they have a lot of defensemen that can move up in the play. Even guys that don't even get a lot of points normally
Right.
still are able to do it. They just do it in a different way, like Pesci, who, by the way, you can put in that category that we were just talking about.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Slavin, Hamilton, all those guys like that, they can even Jake Bean, their new
Yeah,
young guy who looks
yeah,
really
yeah,
good.
yeah.
They're all great at moving the puck up, right? And they were trying to force the play. So what happened was is the defensemen are playing up. Brindamore wants them to be aggressive. So Tampa Bay starts doing long passes up the middle and nailing them, nailing them. Like Hedman, and they got. Hey, we got some pretty good defensemen here too, and they were nailing it up the middle, forcing that defense to play back. They started almost floating guys in behind them and forcing the defense to play back,
Exactly.
and that took really the biggest strength from Carolina away.
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
it was an interesting series. Again, it's one of those to Tampa Bay's been there, done that. It's difficult to beat teams like that.
But to basically just dismantle Carolina like that. Now, you have to say that, Mrazek came in and stole that game. Okay. And
Mm,
Nedeljkovic played really, really well in the games that he was in. He played
hmm.
really well. I mean, you could tell though that he made some very rookie mistakes and allowed some of the goals that were scored on him were scored by rookie mistakes
Yeah,
that you would have seen more more veteran goalies would have probably have made some of those saves. Not all of them, but maybe a couple of them.
right. He made a lot of saves that
Right.
a lot of goaltenders couldn't
Couldn't
save.
make. Okay, that's
But
the other
but when
side
we're
of it.
talking about playoff goaltenders,
Yes.
they just basically don't make mistakes hardly. Like maybe
Exactly.
one a series if you're lucky. Like
Hmm.
lucky. That's the thing about goaltending, right? People will say, yeah, it's always on the goaltender. Well, yeah, it is. Sorry, it's
I
the most
mean,
important position out there. If
I
you're a
mean, he's the
goaltender and you're
last
not thinking that
guy.
way,
He's the
yeah,
last guy.
yeah. Eh, I mean, like, apart from like what happened
Sorry.
with Boston with Rask,
Yeah.
when you have a defense that's playing that poorly, that's a little different. But
Yeah.
Carolina's defense wasn't playing really that poorly. And
I
he
agree.
just made a couple mistakes in that series that you can't make. That is
Like I
not
said.
really his fault because he's a
Yeah.
kid. He's
Like
just
I
learning.
said. Like I said, he made some rookie mistakes that probably a more veteran goalie probably would not have made.
Hmm.
And those saves probably would have been made, or those shots probably wouldn't have happened because he would have been at a different angle, or whatever the case was. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
goalie, I never played, so I don't know. But I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. I think the future looks very bright in Carolina.
Oh yeah.
It
For
doesn't
sure.
matter that they're going to be drafting in the lower 20s this year for the draft because of where
Yeah.
they finished and all that.
Well,
That's not going
first
to
of all, they're
matter.
great at drafting anyway. So
Right, and they have been throughout the entire Brindamore tenure, of which he signed an extension. So that entire group is going to be back, I think, in a much better form. And look out
yeah.
for them next year and the years coming because they're just going to be older and more experienced, and they're going to be able to continue bringing up their players and developing their players and things like that. So
Yeah, the only thing I'd be looking for, and last year I was hoping they got a veteran to play one playoff, kind of show helping Nedeljkovic out a little bit. But this year I don't think you can go that way now. You already gave the kid experience. It's time to just keep on rolling with them.
right, you might as
Uh,
well, yeah.
you might as well maybe if you could find a veteran, and I'm that has won a cup before, that's very very veteran, that doesn't mind taking a step back, that's not planning to be the number one
That
there.
wants to be like the mentor type of guy.
That's exactly what he wants to do now. Maybe he wants to be a goalie coach after his career or something
Yeah, I
like
got
that.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
really good with those kind of young players. Maybe that. And then, like I said, if you could get a Foligno, that'd be beautiful. Or, Brandon Saad has won cups in Chicago. He would definitely know that type of mentality that's needed there. A guy like that. But
Yeah,
besides that, they've got Seth Jarvis coming. That
yeah.
kid just ripped it up in the AHL. Like you said, they've drafted extremely extremely well. Noel Gunler's probably not ready, but
No,
you
but
might see Seth
still though,
Jarvis
yeah.
next year.
Still though, their prospect pool is really deep, and they look like they're going to be a good team here, especially in the very near future. Well,
Yeah,
there you have it, folks. We wrapped up Carolina, and we think that they're going to be a good team in the future. It was kind of sad to see him lose. We were all kind of rooting for Rod Brindamore and the Hurricanes to, with all heart.
oh
But
yeah,
well,
total heart.
right, yeah. They ran into the juggernaut of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I still would have to put Rod Brindamore in there in the finalists for the Jack Adams all day
Yeah,
long.
I got, like I said, it's him, Q, or I don't know who else we had there, but I think it's between him and Q.
Him and Q. All right, folks. Well, man, I'll tell you what, Perlo, it was great having you on. It was great sharing all your great insight. You know what I mean? That's why we do these, because we have such great insight and such great rapport. Tell the folks how we can find you and where we can get all your great stuff.
Oh yeah. Talking about the whole Brian and Sod thing actually came up on my show, which you can watch between 3 and 5 Eastern, 5 days a week on the Perlo. On my just go to Perlo Wisdom and YouTube and on the channel, search it. I'm pretty sure there's no other Perlo Wisdom out there. I'll probably pop up. You can subscribe to
Oh,
that. Come
trust
on
me,
the channel.
there is nobody like Perlo Wisdom.
Yeah, come on the channel. We talk about this kind of
Oh, it's
stuff for
good
two
stuff, man.
hours
Check it out.
every day. But like I said, Brendan Sod came up. One of the, I think it was Bill T or something.
Yeah,
We did a thing where we were looking at every free agent and where they might go in the off season. It's very interactive. You guys can put in your thing, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, come check me out there. And then of course, I'm part of the Steel Flyers All Sports website that is absolutely crushing it, and you really want to go check it out. It's hitting like crazy. We're getting hits more and more every month.
more and
So
more. For sure, man, for sure.
yeah.
Thank you all very much for joining us. I'm your host, Steel Flyers. You can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. You can also check us out on the web at www.steelflyers.com. Check us out. Thank you very much for joining us. Just remember, folks, stay safe, stay strong, and hang tough.